Senator Sanders.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks to the members of the Commission for being here. Clearly, we must continue to focus on the need for safety reforms after the unthinkable disaster in Japan happened, reminding us, and one of the issues that we always have to be aware of with regard to nuclear power, 99.9% safe is not good enough. In a letter to the President following Fukushima, I called for a moratorium on license renewals until we could examine what happened and implement reforms. And I'm especially concerned about that because in the southern part of my state, we have a nuclear power plant with a similar design of what took place in Fukushima. And in fact, we have 23 reactors in the United States with the same GE Mark I design as Fukushima. But license extensions continue without accounting for lessons learned. Safety officials expressed concern about this design in the early 1970s. And a top NRC official said in 1986, and I quote, Mark I reactors had a 90% probability of bursting should the fuel rods overheat and melt in an accident. End of quote. That was in 1986. A week after Fukushima, the NRC, timing was extraordinary, relicensed a Mark I reactor in my own state, the Vermont Yankee nuclear power plant, for 20 years without taking time to examine the implications of Fukushima. Relicensed Vermont Yankee 1 week after Fukushima. The NRC has granted 71 license renewals and has never rejected one. 71 to 0. In every single instance, the NRC has said it is appropriate to relicense a nuclear power plant. The NRC also voted 3-2 in secret to recommend the government side with Entergy in litigation against Vermont's energy future. In my very strong view, the NRC's job is safety. Safety, that is what your job is. It is not to tell the people of Vermont or any other state how they go forward in terms of energy. In my state, there is a strong feeling we want to go forward with energy efficiency and sustainable energy. I believe that we have that right. I believe that every other state in the country has that right. If we want to move to sustainable energy and not maintain an aging, trouble-plagued nuclear power plant, I think we should be allowed to do that. The future of nuclear power will 100% be determined by whether or not the taxpayers of this country continue to provide huge financial support to the nuclear power industry for the indefinite future. That's the issue. And I always find it amusing that at this moment in American history, when we have a $15 trillion national debt, when our middle class is declining, when poverty is increasing, and I have many of my friends, some on this committee, who say, we got to cut Social Security, we got to cut Medicare, we got to cut Medicaid, we just can't afford it. But when it comes to taxpayer support for nuclear power, there is no end in sight. Billion after billion after billion. The point is that despite all of the talk of many of my friends about how the government should not be involved in picking winners and losers, of course the government 60 years ago picked the winner. And that winner is the nuclear power industry. Tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars of direct subsidies are going to that industry. Now, my last question in this regard is, when does it end? I am a believer in sustainable energy. I think it is absolutely appropriate that when you have new technologies, it does receive federal support. The nuclear industry is now in this country 60 years old. It is a mature industry. When do we get it off of the government welfare programs? When does it begin to stand on its own? Is 60 years enough, Mr. Magwood? How many more years do you foresee the federal government having to support the nuclear power industry?